Hello everyone and welcome to this week's video. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button now. Click the like button if you like the video at any point, and ring the bell underneath this video. That will give you notifications every time we put up a video. It's always, at the minute anyway, 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning. So if you can do those three things, it really helps our channel out before you watch the rest of the video. So you'll have seen in the heading of the video, it says there that we got some bad news. Kind of dreaded by livestock farmers, I suppose. Something that's rampant at the moment, and that is TB, unfortunately. We had a clear skin test in November. Every November is our annual TB test, and all the animals were clear in November. So everything was going well. We were really kind of wrapping calving up, and we had some fat cows that were culls that had calved down either with mastitis or poor milk or whatever cows that were top of the cull list, and calving had went fairly well, so we were shifting those off. So we'd sent 3 loads of culls like that, fat cows, and we're getting great money for them in the factory at the time, so we couldn't really resist sending them. So on the 1st of April we sent our last 4 cows four cull fat cows that we wanted to send to the factory. And unfortunately 2 weeks later we got a letter to say that we were now locked up with TB, letter in the post. So no phone call, nothing from the factory within a few days of them going in. It was about 2 weeks, and we got a letter then from the Department of Agriculture just saying that we were locked up. No animal tag numbers on it, nothing about what had happened. Very, very vague, very, very poor communication. So rang the district veterinary office and they said, you've had a cow show up with a TB lesion in the factory. So a lesion is usually in a lymph node. It's caused when the TB bacteria or any kind of a bacterial infection sort of migrate to the lymph node and cause something that looks a little bit like an ulcer. So they would have killed the cow in the factory, found this ulcer-like thing. It would have been taken out of the animal, and then that's shipped up to the central testing lab for the Department of Agriculture, which is in Backweston in Kildare. Oh, I just want to say here, TB can be quite a scary sounding thing, especially the farmers that haven't experienced it before. We've never had it before here, so what I want to do is get as much information on the process, how good a job or poor a job the Department of Agriculture are doing around it, and I want to try and use this channel now and share with all of our followers what the actual TB process is in Ireland. The flaws, the good parts, the bad parts, whatever I see, I want to be able to share here, so you're going to follow along for the TB journey. I have no idea today. We've done our first test. The results of that test are tomorrow. Standing here this evening, I have no idea. Will it be clear? Will we have 1 cow? Will we have 50 cows show up on that? I have no idea, but we're going to bring you along the whole way. So please stick around to the end of this video, because we'll go through the results of the first skin test by the end of the video. So the lesion was taken out of the animal, sent to the central testing lab in Backweston for further testing. So there's a team of lab technicians up there that take in these lesions that are found. Now some of them that the factory finds go for testing and they don't show up as TB. Some sort of other bacteria will have caused it, but the PCR test, that's what's used to check for the presence of bacteria, TB bacteria. So it is a very, very accurate test that they're using, and it's reasonably fast. So we got the results back of that within, I think it was about 10 days, which is what the technician, so I rang the technician to find out what the process was. That's how I know that they're sent from the factory to there, and then the samples are PCR tested to find whether there's bacteria, TB bacteria present or not, and it's fairly fast and very accurate. It used to be way slower before PCR testing came in. They used to have to culture it, which means try and grow TB bacteria on a plate in a lab, and it takes weeks and weeks. Now if the sample comes back inconclusive from PCR testing, as far as I know, they culture it then to see if it is, but if it comes back on positive on PCR for TB, they don't bother culture it. So I was contacted then by the vet office, Department Vet Office, to say that the PCR test that came back as positive for TB, meaning that cow was 98% sure that she had TB bacteria causing the lesion. That means the whole herd was locked up then, completely locked up. No animal movements in or out. So unfortunately, being the 1st of April, we have about 50 beef calves which would have been due to be sold still on the farm, still in the sheds. I'll go through the plan that we have for them, probably not in this video, but obviously they're going to be staying. We decided to not go down a feedlot route, ring a feedlot and see where they take the calves, because they just weren't going to give anything for the calves this year. And calves and beef are a good price, and beef is scarce, and we've the facilities to carry them for the minute anyway, and we didn't like hearing that we were going to get nothing for them, so they've stayed. We have all the beef calves there still. The plan then, when you get a lesion that comes back as positive, your whole herd is locked up, and then you have to get 2 clear consecutive TB skin tests. 1 now and 1 in 60 days time. If you pass both of those, if both of those are clear, you have to go on a 6-month testing schedule. If they're not clear, then it's kind of up to the department. They sort of look at how many animals you have that are positive and what the best next steps are. You'll continue to be locked up, and they might keep you on a 60-day TB testing regime, or if it's quite a serious outbreak, they might make you do a blood test, which is a gamma interferon blood test, the whole herd, if it's quite serious. But I don't know. You will know as soon as I know what the plan is. So where we are now is we've the first day of the first test done, so all the cows have been injected. They're being read tomorrow, and I don't know, started off the video saying that we've got some bad news. The video will either end with a little bit worse news or some better news. So look, fingers crossed it's going to be better news. My opinion on the whole thing, well, I'm not going to go into the TB protocol or what I think of the TB testing system for the minute anyway, but my opinion on the position we're in, and everyone else in the yard here, Paul and Elaine and everybody, is that if there's a problem there and we have TB in the herd, well then we need to go head, neck and ears into trying to get rid of it. So animals that have TB, or that are questionable whether they have TB or not, if they have to go and be culled now, everything needs to go, because we want to get out of the problem as fast as we've gotten into it. So the only current way of getting out of the problem is to cull the animals. So if the animals come back, any animals that come back positive on a skin test now, tomorrow, will have to be culled immediately, as soon as the department can organise them going for slaughter. That'll be the most heartbreaking part. They will technically be fit, healthy, good milk producing animals, that will be just gotten rid of because of a lump on their neck. So that's kind of the hardest thing to take, especially the farm here. We've built it up over a short period of time. We're not dairy farming very long. We know all the cows. We've bred most of our animals that we have on the farm here. We started with a very small number and we're up to a decent number now. It's going to be hard to see any of those go, but you can't really hold on to that either. Like I said, we sort of more have to focus on the problem now and getting to the solution for the problem, which is getting out of trouble as fast as we can. So we just need to take it on as another job, as any other job. We need to work with the department as well as we can. We need to question them if we feel like they're not looking after our best interests, or they're doing something that probably could be done a little bit better. We'll be sure to bring them up on that, but we'll be here to work with them as best we can, because they're there to try and help us get out of the problem as well. Well, as of this evening, that's the situation we're in. For testing then, 2 herds of cows. We tested the cows the first day. We let them back out to grass and brought them back in when the vet arrived, because he wasn't here till probably 10:30 or that, and we didn't want him standing in the yard for too long, so we let him out and brought him back in. The heifers, they were put in to the shed because it's just easier than having to be there super early, especially if you have to milk. If we have to go milk, it's home for breakfast, back for TB test. So the heifers were put in at the start of the week into the shed on silage. That means, because if not, you'd be going 3 or 4 paddocks down a laneway and trying to rush them in before the vet comes. Something goes wrong, there's time lost, you're holding the vet up. So they went in, it's just handier. They've been in all week. They'll go back out after the test tomorrow. Calves then, there's 50 calves at home still inside in the calf rearing shed, in straw pens. They were all tested within their pen. We caught all those animals and tested them all one by one. because they're all small calves enough still. And there's a batch of 40 calves out in the field, replacement heifers, and some beef calves that we're holding on to because the replacement heifer numbers are small. This year we made a makeshift pen out in the field for those, and those animals were also caught by one and tested. So that has been the protocol for testing. So look, it's Thursday evening now. You're as up to date as I am in the video. Stick around if you want to see what the results are and what the plan is going forward. Not fantastic news. Fingers crossed it doesn't get a whole pile worse by the end. Just an update on grass management at the minute. A fantastic word was used in our most recent discussion group, and that is covers ahead of cows are watery. I think it's a great way of putting it. So an awful lot of long shot out, gone to seed grass, and down in it then is quite thin and open. So you have very tall covers but very little grass actually on the field, or very little food for cows on the field. That's just as a result of dry time coming at the worst possible time for ryegrass in the ryegrass life cycle. So all a grass plant wants to do, its main, or all any plant wants to do, is to produce a seed head, so reproduce. That's how it survives. Around the middle of May, middle to the last week of May, pretty much all of our ryegrass varieties, that's their heading out date. So that's the 2 weeks that they aim to reproduce every year, and we just hit a dry spell in that 2 weeks. So if you have what you want ideally is plants to be have very little stress on them for that period of 2 weeks, and then you lower the amount of plants that want to go to seed head. But all plants across the country for those 2 weeks were under a lot of stress because they didn't have water. So pretty much 90% of them go up a seed head. So we're just working our way through those covers now at the minute. What we're doing is, so none of them are over 1500, but none of them are very good quality. So we're still feeding 3 kilos of nuts in the partner here. We're feeding 2 on the other farm. The grass is a little bit better. But at home here, we're still on 3 kilos of nuts. And we're giving cows big areas, and we're not really pushing them to graze it out. What we're doing then is we're following them at the minute with about 20 units of N, and we're also topping, which you'll see in the next tip. Just before we talk about topping, just quickly while I'm in this field, just to follow up on the less spreading the slurry that we talked about in the previous video. So this is a paddock that was grazed now yesterday, it was finished yesterday, and we can clearly see all our slurry lines in our field, but we also can see how green it is right at the line. So there's a lot of nitrogen there from the slurry right at the line as you go across the field, but clearly the lines are still there. We look down, the lines are there because the slurry is still clearly in the ground, like we spoke about the last day. Very much there. That's what's making the lines. That's also what's keeping the grass very green beside them, because that's still releasing nutrients as it rains on it. It's washing that in and putting nutrients into the grass. Also play to see, if we look here, that slurry spread with a low emission slurry spreading is totally fine to go out on a cover of grass which is due to be grazed within the next week, which is what happened here. So I don't think anyone would have any arguments that slurry present in the lines had any effect on the grazing residual there, residual height. There's a line with slurry in it, right there, and that grass there is down to 4 centimeters. You can clearly see it there. And right across the field you can see the residual was hit. To drum the point home, low emission slurry spreading works really well on grazing ground. Silage ground, well then that's a whole debate that probably needs to be had. But for grazing, an unbelievable way of getting slurry onto grazing ground with a cover of grass on it. You will waste no slurry, or no grass. When I'm talking all about all that grassland management, I think it's important to mention the boo-boo that was made there. The 3 paddocks that were ahead of cows, we wanted to mow. The weather is very touch and go, like it's catchy. So decided to mow. What day was this? Tuesday. And the plan was to bale that yesterday evening. And the showers of rain that came were just crazy. So it all got rain. It all got rain last night, and it has all got rain this morning. So there you go. That won't be much good, that stuff. But anyway, the main thing is to have it growing back for cows and not sitting there in grass that we can't graze. And I saw O'Neill's Dairy Farm, or O'Neill's Farm on YouTube, very good channel. Actually go check them out now if you're not already following them. But they were making their silage today in the rain as well, so it looks like the YouTube farmers got a bit wrong. That happens. So we're just sitting in the van here. Been a long day, been a long week. Just had another project here that's going on at the minute that I haven't showed you yet. It'll have its own set of dedicated videos for that when I get around to it. I've lots of footage taken. Today I had TB test, the second day of the TB test this morning, so that's the results day. Like I said in the last part of the video, very nervous, but the vet went through all the animals and they were spotless, so we're clear today, which was unbelievable result. The pressure that has taken off today is just unmeasurable, and as Paul talked about it earlier, whether you like it or not, that's going around the back of your head, and just to have it done for today and know that all the animals were clear and clean, just takes a lot of pressure off. So we're not out of the woods yet. We have to do another skin test now in 60 days time. If that isn't clear, then we'll be properly locked up, and if that's also clear in 60 days, we'll be TB free, so completely unrestricted, and that'll allow us to sell all those beef calves that are hanging around. So that's it. The video started off with bad news, has ended with good news. Not the way I thought it was going to go, but really happy about. Have to wait 60 days now and get another test done, and that's the real decider. But for the minute, we'll take the first little win and the positivity for today. Really good news. So that'll be it for today's video. If you haven't already, please click the subscribe button now. If you wait till the end to see what the results of the TB was. Click the like button now as well if you liked the video at any point, and ring the bell. You'll get notifications about our videos every Sunday morning at 9 AM. The last video got some crazy amount of views, so really appreciate everyone for that, but there's more people watching than subscribed, so just if you remembered now, click the subscribe button. It really helps out the channel an awful lot, and really appreciate the support. We'll talk to you next week.